Let's talk about a habit that's so deeply ingrained, most of us don't even realize we're doing it. I'm talking about the apology reflex. That sorry that just flies out of your mouth, even when you've done absolutely nothing wrong. If that sounds like you, then you are in exactly the right place.
Okay, just picture this for a second. You're driving, and someone suddenly swerves into your lane. You have to slam on the brakes. Your heart is pounding, right? Adrenaline is just flooding your body. And in that split second, before you even feel angry or scared, something else pops up. It's this weird, reflexive feeling of guilt. The first words that form in your mind aren't about the other driver, they're about you. It's a quiet, automatic, "I'm sorry."
You don't know why, but you feel it. It's this deep, automatic guilt for just being there, for existing in a space where something almost went wrong, as if your presence was the problem. Now, this isn't about being polite. This is a powerful, involuntary response. And if that little story feels uncomfortably familiar, then this is the explainer you've needed for a long time. To really get what this reflex is all about, we have to see it in action. Because, it's not just about close calls on the freeway. For so many of us, it's this constant, low-level hum in the background of our everyday lives. So let's take a look at a portrait of this behavior, a response that psychologists call fawning. So let's meet someone we'll call Lena. Lena is kind of like a case study of what this looks like out in the wild. On any given day, Lena probably apologizes about 40 times. And honestly, most of the time she doesn't even notice. It's just the way she communicates. It'll start first thing, in the morning meeting. She has a really important point to make, but before she can even share it, the words just tumble out. "Sorry, can I just say something?" Right there, she's apologizing for having a voice, for taking up space, as if her idea is an interruption she needs to ask permission for. A little later, maybe a colleague is rude to a client. Lena immediately jumps in. "I'm so sorry, he's just having a really bad day." See what she did there? She just absorbed all the responsibility for somebody else's bad behavior. She's taken on the role of emotional manager for the whole room. That night, she's had a really rough day, and she needs a friend. But as she's sharing, she ends the conversation with, "I'm so sorry for being such a burden." She's apologizing for having needs, for taking up time, for asking for the kind of support that friendship is supposed to be about. In her head, her own existence feels like an inconvenience to others.
And look, Lena knows it's a problem, deep down. She sees her coworkers kind of roll their eyes when she says sorry for the 10th time that hour. She can feel how her words are losing their impact. And what's her response to that feeling? Well, a wave of shame washes over her and she thinks, "Oh God, I'm so sorry. I know I apologize way too much." It is a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle, and she honestly has no idea when it even started.
So where on earth does this come from? Why do so many people, just like Lena, have this reflex baked into them? Well, it is so important to understand this is not a character flaw. It is not a bad habit you just need to break. The research is very, very clear on this. This is a deeply ingrained survival strategy, one that was likely learned in childhood when it was absolutely necessary to stay safe. So let's put a name to it. The therapist Pete Walker identified this as the fourth trauma response, right alongside fight, flight, and freeze. He called it the fawn response. And it's a really profound psychological adaptation where a child figures out that their safety and sometimes their actual survival depends on appeasing the people around them. I want to be very clear. This is not weakness. Let me repeat that. This is not weakness. It is the absolute genius of a young person's nervous system figuring out how to create safety in an unsafe world.
So why this particular response? I mean, why would a nervous system choose fawning instead of fighting back or running away? The answer is both simple and, frankly, heartbreaking. Because for some children, those other options were either completely impossible or would have made things much, much worse. Fighting back would have been dangerous. Running away wasn't an option. So the nervous system, in its incredible wisdom, found another way to survive.
The fawn response really takes root in specific kinds of childhoods. Think about a home where the caregivers are emotionally volatile or totally unpredictable. A child in that situation has to become a master at reading moods just to navigate the day. Or picture an environment where expressing your needs or having a different opinion was met with punishment or anger or just the silent treatment. Kids in these situations learn a really powerful and really damaging lesson. My needs are dangerous. My voice is a threat. They're often made to feel like their existence itself is a burden, and in many cases they're parentified, meaning they're forced to become the emotional caretaker for the adults in their life.
You can draw a perfectly straight line from these childhood adaptations to the adult reflexes we see.
That child who grew up with totally unpredictable caregivers, they become the adult who is hyper-aware of everyone else's mood in the room. The kid who was punished for disagreeing, they become the adult who automatically suppresses their own opinions. And that child who's made to feel like a burden, well, they grow into the adult who apologizes for simply taking up space in the world. The pattern is perfect, and it is painful.
So let's just land on this one more time. Fawning is not a character flaw. It's a sophisticated survival strategy that's rooted in our biology. According to polyvagal theory, we all have this social engagement system in our nervous system that's designed to help us connect with people. Well, in a moment of perceived threat, especially one you can't fight or run from, your nervous system essentially hijacks that system. It weaponizes it for survival. That quick, accommodating smile, that reflexive "I'm sorry," that's your body using the tools of connection to scream, "I am not a threat," all based on software that was written a long, long time ago.
But here's the tragedy. A strategy that was absolutely brilliant for a child trying to survive becomes deeply, deeply damaging for an adult. When fawning is still your default setting, it comes with a really heavy long-term cost. So let's talk about what that damage actually looks like.
Chronic fawning is like a slow-acting poison in a person's life. Every single unnecessary apology chips away at your self-worth, reinforcing this false idea that you're always at fault. It just demolishes your personal boundaries, it erodes your credibility with other people, and it creates these profound imbalances in your relationships. And almost always, it leads to deep, painful, emotional burnout.
Let's be very, very clear about this. When you constantly apologize for having needs, you are, without even realizing it, training the people around you that your boundaries don't matter. You're teaching them that your no is actually a maybe. And worse, your apology becomes worthless. When you say sorry for everything, the word loses all its power. So when you actually mess up and need to give a real, heartfelt apology, it just lands with a thud. It's just another sorry.
And maybe the most devastating cost of all is what happens on the inside. That external behavior of constantly saying sorry starts to build an internal belief system. You start to truly, deeply believe that your existence is an inconvenience. You feel in your bones that your needs are a burden, your feelings are too much, and that you are fundamentally wrong for the space you occupy. Saying sorry all the time turns into being sorry all the time.
So, what do we do about it? Now, the answer is not to just grit your teeth and try harder to stop. It won't work. This is a nervous system response, not a conscious choice. The way forward is about creating just a tiny bit of space between the trigger and the response. It's all about practicing the pause.
Now, the goal here is absolutely not to just stop apologizing. Trying that will only make you feel ashamed when the reflex kicks in again, and it will. Now, the goal is to move from a reflexive response to a reflective one. We are trying to shift from an automatic, unconscious reaction to a conscious, considered action. This is the moment where you start to take your power back.
Okay, here is the core practice. It's so simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. The next time you feel that sorry bubbling up in your throat, before it comes out of your mouth, just pause for 1 second. And in that tiny space, ask yourself one question. Did I actually do something wrong here? If the answer is no, then an apology is not what's needed.
We can actually break this down with a simple little tool. Pause. So P is for pause. Just stop for a beat. Interrupt that automatic reflex. A is for acknowledge. Acknowledge the feeling in your body. Is it fear? Is it guilt? Just notice it. U is for understand. Understand what you truly want or need in this moment. And finally, S is for speak. Speak from that place of understanding. And listen, even if all you can manage to say is, "Let me think about that for a second," you have successfully broken the cycle. You have responded instead of just reacting. This gives us the exact tools to replace that reflex. Notice the pattern here. We are shifting from apology to either acknowledgement or gratitude. So instead of, "Sorry, I'm upset," you can say, "This is a really hard situation." Instead of, "Sorry for rambling," which devalues everything you just said, you can say, "Thank you for listening." And instead of "Sorry to bother you," you just respectfully ask, "Is now a good time?" Every single one of these little replacements reclaims your power and reinforces your right to exist.
Let's end on this. This is the most important thing to remember. You are not born apologizing for your existence. You were not born believing you were a burden. This is a learned behavior. It was a brilliant, creative, and necessary adaptation that helped you survive. It kept you safe. And the most powerful, most hopeful truth about something that's been learned is this. Anything that has been learned can, with awareness, with compassion, and with practice, be unlearned.